TION, God of Wind, Chapter 1. The wind of prophecy in the land of Avalane. The wind carries whispers from the past to tell the future. A young boy named Sael grew up in a village in the middle of a valley, unaware that he had divine blood. On the night of a strange storm, a voice in the wind howled in his heart. "You are my successor, God of Wind." The wind began to respond to Sael's command. The beasts in the forest were all terrified as he passed by. He followed the sound of the wind that led him to the forbidden temple of the gods. Sael knew that his fate was connected to the war that was about to happen, and his first test was coming the next night. Chapter 2. The Temple of Wind. Sael stood in front of an ancient temple covered in vines and thick fog. A large stone door opened on its own as he approached without touching it. Inside the temple were statues of many gods, but the statue of wind had disappeared. A whisper in the air said, "You are the missing being." As he touched the center of the altar, a blue beam shot into the sky. Wind swirled around Sael, covering his body with divine power. An ancient rune appeared on his arm, revealing the power of the wind. Suddenly, a dark shadow from his dark past slowly began to awaken. Chapter 3. The Wind Chaser. The dark shadow was Fenris, a treacherous god, imprisoned by the last breath of the old god. Sael's power unknowingly pulled him out of his bonds. "You broke the cursed gate. You will be held accountable," Fenris said. Sael instinctively dodged the first attack before the wind enveloped his body. The power within him awakened the wind magic that had been lost for thousands of years. The two fought in the middle of the temple until it collapsed in half. The sound of giant bird wings flew from the sky, along with the body of a mysterious woman. "If you don't want to die, come with me now," she shouted. Episode 4. The Wind of the Mountain. A young woman named Isla is the last guardian of the wind. She took Sael to escape to a high mountain peak where the wind was always strong. There, they met a trainer named Alvin, an old man who could use the wind like a god. Alvin taught Sael to control his power through grueling training. "The wind is not just a push, but the breath of the world," he said. Sael began to understand that this power was not only for fighting, but also for protection. Isla told him about the prophecy that the gods would be reborn in human form, and the real enemy was not just Fenris. Episode 5. The Cursed Land. Sael and Isla traveled to the Silent Land, a land where the wind could not blow. There, it was prophesied that whoever passed through would meet their power. Images from the past appeared before Sael. Seeing his mother die because of the unrighteous god, he screamed in the silence. Before the power within exploded, a wind arose in the Silent Land for the first time in 1,000 years. This power was called the Old Wind that made the enemy see the fear in their hearts. When he controlled it, he left the land with new strength, and something followed him out with him. Chapter 6. The Spirit of the Wind. The mysterious shadow that followed Sael was Nereus, the spirit of the previous wind god. Nereus offered to be his guide so that Sael would know his true power. They traveled to the ancient hall where all the records of the gods were kept. There, Sael learned that the gods were made of the 4 elements: wind, fire, water, and earth. And the god of the wind was the one who kept the balance between them. If the god of the wind was extinguished, the peace would collapse. Nereus's warning sounded. Fenris is gathering the power of fire. The war between the new and old gods is about to begin. Chapter 7. Fire and Wind. Sael traveled to Mount Comus to stop He found out that Fenris had made a contract with Astron, the fallen god of fire. Both devoured the power of humans to replenish their power. Sael tried to stop him, but was burned by the fire and collapsed. In the midst of death, he heard the wind crying and surrounding his heart. Isla risked her life to save him and kissed him in the flame. The two powers combined, becoming a firestorm that even gods feared. He rose with eyes emitting the light of wind and fire, ready to start a new battle. Episode 8. The Storm of Awakening. Sael's firestorm. violently attacked Fenderus, destroying half of the binding spirit. But Fenderus' power continued to grow from the fear of the people. Sael decided to use the life-threatening power, the Storm of Awakening. It was a sacred wind spell that awakened the courage in the hearts of humans all over the world. The storm spread throughout the kingdom, and people began to rise up and fight, no longer fearing the gods. Fenderus was weakened because his power depended on despair. Finally, Sael used his last breath to blow a wind spell that cast a soul spell on the enemy's body. Fenderus' body disintegrated. Only the sound of the wind remained. Chapter 9, A Quiet Breath. The world is at peace once again as the power of the wind returns to balance. Isla takes Sael's body back to the mountaintop, letting him recuperate in the Valley of the Wind. Although the war is over, the wounds in his heart remain. Sael ponders what it means to be a god. To listen to the world. He decides not to rule, but to travel to help people. The power of the wind becomes a legend. Not of power, but of inspiration. Alvin smiles. You became a god not because of power, but of heart. The sound of the wind still carries his story across the land. Chapter 10. The god's last wind. Years later, Sael's legend becomes a song in the village. No one knows where he is, or if he is still alive. On the day the great storm swept through the kingdom, the wind stopped for a moment before the gentle breeze blew through the plants and the hearts of everyone. Ayla looks up at the sky and smiles through tears. He is still in every wind. People begin to build the Tower of Wind, a memorial to the one who saved the world. And his name, Sael, the god of wind, will be spoken forever. Summary. Breath of destiny in a world where the balance of the four elements was shaking. He faced his past enemies, faced his inner fears, and passed through terrible tests. Sael, a young man who did not know that he was born with the blood of a god, was chosen by the power of the wind to be the successor of the god of wind. Although he was able to defeat the god of darkness, he chose to live a simple life, traveling to help people instead. He did not only fight with his power, but also learn to control himself, understand the world, and use his power to protect, not possess it. In the end, his breath became a part of the world, calm, gentle, and full of hope. Moral lessons from the god of wind. True power does not lie in defeating others, but in controlling oneself. Sael was able to control the wind because he knew his own heart first. Bravery does not mean not being afraid, but rising up even on a day of fear. The wind of the past reveals that despite a painful past, we can overcome it. Being a leader is not being superior to others, but is inspiring others to rise up and fight. The storm of awakening does not attack the enemy, but it awakens the hearts of people to rise up. Sometimes sacrifices leaving quietly, but leaving a change forever. Sael did not claim to be a god, but people remembered him in the wind that still